Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
This episode is brought to you by Sevens Boutique, an online shop created by 2 sisters, Angie and Jess, who believe you should walk boldly, dress divinely, and know your significance. At Sevens, you'll find easygoing pieces that are cozy, classy, and made to mix and match. Think relaxed pants, cozy sweaters, and lifestyle sets you'll want to live in. Every item is handpicked with purpose, so you can shop confidently, dress comfortably, and walk boldly. Inventory is small and curated, so if you see something you love, don't wait. Visit sevensboutique.com and use the code PODCAST10 for 10% off your first order. www.sevensboutique.com. Walk boldly, dress divinely, know your significance.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where we're going to cover several different topics this week. Last week, we didn't get to do a podcast. It was very busy. It was also your actual birthday week. And so we had a lot of things going on. And at the end of the day, life happens. And sometimes it's just more important to focus on things that are really important. And last week, in a lot of ways, that was you and, as always, kids things. So here we are this week.
Yeah, it is a hard decision when we decide not to do a podcast. It's only happened a handful of times where it's like we just cannot make it work. There's too much going on, and it feels like we're letting our listeners down. But appreciate the outreach where quite a few people were like, "That's okay. You can take a break," because it is a lot that we do on a day-to-day basis. So.
I mean, when you think about it, pretty much all television shows only run for 24 episodes a season, and then it's just rerun. So for us to take a handful of shows off every couple of years really isn't that bad.
No.
Well, do you want to talk about some of your birthday highs?
Yeah, definitely. This year, I told Aric, I'm like, all I want to do is just go down to Hallie's house. I just want to get away and just be still. Be still. And so it was nice. We planned that. The house happened to be open. So we left on a Wednesday, came back on a Monday, and we worked some too. I didn't fully take off for the couple of work days. But one thing that we did different this time was we went for a walk before we left, and we kind of mapped out where we were going to go to dinner. I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to cook. I don't want to go get a bunch of groceries. I just want it to be really simple. And so we planned out for each day where we're going to grab coffee or brunch and where we're going to do dinner. We never really had lunch. We just sort of had that middle time to just do whatever. That actually worked out great because we didn't have to spend time thinking about where we wanted to go. It was just you go into the long weekend to just spend time together and to just be. And I think when you can do that, that's a beautiful thing, to just be. Just be.
Yeah. And it was such great weather. We were able to sit out on the porch and drink coffee in the morning, coffee in the evening, because it wasn't too hot. That's kind of our new thing. We sit around at night and we're still drinking coffee.
Caffeine for you, decaf for me.
I'm going to try to start doing more decaf at night. Probably don't need that.
You don't need the caffeine. You like the coffee. So it doesn't have to be fully loaded.
So yeah, it was really good to just get away and have a plan for once. Because normally every day I said, well, what should we do today? And we really did have it was a rough outline. We didn't have to stick to it, although we mostly did. But it was nice to get up and just know we kind of had a plan for each day rather than have to figure it out on the fly. So.
And Aric made sure to add in there on our list to have connections. if you know what I'm saying.
Honey, I just wanted to make sure that you and I connected on multiple levels of this trip. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed your birthday time.
Yes, it was good. I just always encourage people, especially, you have every different season in your marriage, to carve out time, because it was good for us to just go spend time together. Doesn't mean we were always talking nonstop. It was definitely a good balance between being able to feel like you could sit in the quiet, but also we moved our body. We, ate great food, and we had some sunshine, all the natural medicines I feel like that your soul needs, but also recognizing that, I know in our podcast earlier, we talked about how I had this year for the first time mentioned my birthday month of like feeling a little bit of this lightness. And I will tell you, if you are grieving anything, whether it's, divorce or health issues or any sort of loss, that on your good days, you savor that and soak it up, because nothing is like permanent. And for my birthday, I wrote out a blog post of all the things that I'm grateful for, 48 things, because I turned 48. And I think that's also a good exercise to put things into perspective when you're feeling low or down or just kind of struggling, that you'd be shocked how much you can actually list out that you're grateful for. It was very easy for me to put together a list of 48 things, small things, doesn't have to be big things, that I love and that I'm grateful for. And so that was I wrote that before my actual birthday, which was probably a good thing, because we get back from our trip and I had an awful week.
Yeah, you came back and you were like full, like it felt like you had wind in your sails. And then all of a sudden, like that Tuesday, you just like crashed out and things got difficult.
Yeah. And I told Aric, I'm like, I have a topic for the podcast. And I told him what it was. And he was like, are you sure you want to talk about that? I'm like, I do. It's a hard subject for me. But I also think like we're not being fair if we're and open and honest, like we talk about being real and raw, if we don't throw out like things that we experience or things that we go through that are hard things to talk about, knowing that people may not agree with you, they may agree with you, they may be indifferent, but that is life, right? You're never going to have people that fully understand you. So with that,
you're diving us in to a deep topic of discussion.
So a little backstory, or when the Charlie Kirk assassination happened, there were just certain things. I'm not a political person. I do not want to listen to the news. I don't care about the news because I have enough going on in my world that I don't want to have extra stuff to even navigate or think about. But when that happened, it like caught me and sort of sucked me into this whole story. I really didn't even know him that well. Only knew of him because of our kids and because of TikTok. And they were all like just completely devastated by it because they felt like that they knew him. And so there's that aspect of it. But then there's also this like relatability to what happened. And so I went down a million different rabbit holes on this whole thing and all the conspiracy theories and all of that stuff, but that's actually not the topic. But on that Sunday when we were down at Hallie's house was the memorial, and I wanted to watch it because there's a part that's like I love when you can honor and celebrate someone in such a beautiful way. And I wanted to hear what everybody had to say and just sort of that whole experience. But I was especially interested to hear Erica Kirk talk because I've seen, a few glimpses of her, and there's part of me that I see in her, and this like fierceness of, not today, Satan. You messed with the wrong wrong person. Like I see this fight in her, and this fight to like live and to save your own soul through such a difficult, unimaginable scenario. So in this particular memorial, I wanted to hear what she had to say. So all throughout Sunday, I'm kind of listening to different parts of it as we sort of come and go. And
I'm the political one of the two of us, and I really wasn't watching it at all.
Yes,
I was reading and doing whatever, and you were sucked in to see what she would have to say. That's when it happened.
Yes. And she has this like fierceness, this grit, all the things. So I'm like, gosh, I wonder what she's going to say. And I feel like we were walking out of the house, and I'm like watching it on my phone, and I just start to hear her say these words. And I mean, I instantly internally going, no, like, don't say that. And I even said afterwards, oh my God, like it's too soon. What is she doing? And she said, I forgive him. And, you know, whether you watched it live or not, or if you're on TikTok, you've seen the reels everywhere of them like replaying that. And I really struggled with that. Like, what is she doing? Like, it's at that point, like 10 days since it had happened. And then, I mean, Sunday night and Monday, even when we were like traveling back, I really had to unpack and try to understand like my reaction to that. Because like in one hand, in my brain, I'm like, okay, I know she had to do that. She's on this platform and this stage with this whole country tuning in, and such a strong faith. Like I 1,000% agree. That's what Jesus expects from us. You know, Charlie was strong in his faith. I'm sure that's what he would tell people to do. You have to show that. Like I understand. And you could see how painful it was for her to say that. But I also understand that the country sort of needs that forgiveness and that presence to say, like, this is the right thing to do. On the other hand, for me personally, I instantly sort of went into, like, as I reflect, I went into this like comparison game of like, how could she say those words out loud in 10 days? And in November, I'm coming up on 3 years. And if someone said like, you need to go say those words out loud, I would vomit. Like thinking about it makes me feel sick to my stomach. I know if I said it, like my core, like my heart wouldn't like mean that. I don't think I could say it out loud. Mm-hmm. So then you have to like unpack that. Like, why? You know, I have a strong faith, but there's something about saying those words. Historically, when we've talked about forgiveness on this podcast, I feel like, you know, I don't wish them ill wills. I don't. And I've really feel like I've moved on from trying to understand the why or want some sort of explanation or wanting to see some sort of remorse or real apology, you know, where I was hung up on that for a while. But that, like letting go of that to me feels healing. Like I feel like there's progress in going down this journey, that it's not something I could just say the words. You know what I mean? It just blew my mind that she said that, for one, but then unpacking how it made me almost spiral a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I watched you immediately start internalizing what she had said and processing it through your own lens. This morning I was walking with my friend Brent, who we've had on the podcast, and we were talking about it a little bit. And he said to me, and it's so true, like just saying it, if you're not meaning it, doesn't mean anything. That's just a performance. And God's not judging us on our performance. He's judging us on our heart overall. And like, he's chosen us. And so we don't have to perform for him. And two, as our pastor Shay said a long time ago, someday I have to forgive. It doesn't have to be today. It doesn't have to be this year, next year, whatever that looks like. Because again, you want it to be from a real place in your heart. You're Hallie's mom. I don't think that as her bonus dad, I could say it. And we're 3 years in. Again, same things that you're feeling, right? Like not asking all the whys, not needing some big apology, but still don't feel like in my heart of hearts, I would be honest if I was just like, oh yeah, I forgive. So, and I don't know, right? We don't know the intent that came out of it. Maybe it was very sincere. You never know. There's a great story. That's a real story of probably about 10 or more years ago, a shooter who goes in and he kills a bunch of kids in a school of like Amish kids. They end up going, I think then he kills himself or something. And then they end up like going to his funeral and like comforting his family just like within a few days. So things like that are always very interesting to me, but not everyone is going to have that reaction. Not everyone is going to have that same spiritual awakening or whatever it is. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's a very natural thing. One, it's who you are, is to really dive deep into what you're feeling, which is what you were doing. You were processing what you were seeing and then measuring it against how you feel and then where you should be. And I just think that's all part of your journey. I don't think there's a right or a wrong in it. I think that you're very self-aware into what part of this that you're on. And maybe, and that's just part of your journey, is that you did watch this. It stirred a lot of feelings. It stirred a lot of thought. And I know that you're still going to be thinking about it right now, tomorrow, the next month, all of the things.
Yeah. I mean, so I think the initial lesson is like, we all do this. You instantly go into some sort of comparison game, which is not healthy because everybody's story is different. Your experiences are different. I initially was like, God, what's like wrong with me? And, I'm not able to do that. I also think that losing a child is probably a little bit different than a spouse. I don't know because I haven't been in a situation where I lost a spouse, but losing a child definitely feels like complete death inside of me. I know a core part of me died. And so I don't think I'm ready to really figure out how it has really all affected our life. Like it's hard to process because I'll give you an example. One of our kids recently was at a football game and saw a family member of the person responsible and literally like had a panic attack. A fun, simple Friday night and one little glance exchange, whatever, sent our kid into not being able to breathe. 3 years later, it's really, really freaking hard to say that I forgive a person when 3 years later, we still have struggles. So then you see other TikToks of people saying that they forgive someone, that killed their dad years later or their brother. And I haven't seen a mom yet. I haven't seen a mom say that they forgive someone for their child, but maybe that's just not on my feed. But then I ask myself too, should I be working more on being able to say those words out loud? Will there be a time in my life where I can say that? I mean, I can't imagine that right now, but just by my core reaction to even thinking about it. But, there's times too, I'm like, God, am I going to freaking go to hell if I don't say those words out loud? Like, I don't think that it works that way, but I'm just sharing my thoughts because I know other people probably do the same thing, comparing grief journeys, comparing, different your life to someone else's life. But here's what I would say forgiveness is not. It's not forgetting. So, the pressure to try to forgive someone doesn't mean that all of a sudden, like everything is going to be okay. I think it is acknowledging that what happened was completely wrong, but then also choosing to release its power over you, which I think that we have done. Like we have not let this take complete control of our lives and we stay stuck in it. Like we have all continued to move forward. And I am super proud of that.
When you say forgiveness is not forgetting, the first thing I think about is early 90s Colin Ray song. It was called Little Rock. And there's a line in there that says, Jesus will forgive, but a daddy won't forget. And you can replace that with, but a mommy won't forget. Right. Yeah. It's so true, right? Forgiveness is not forgetting. you're saying you're acknowledging it happened and that you forgive at some point, but it doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right. And you'd be a fool to completely forget about it and give yourself the opportunity to let something like that happen again. So
I would also say forgiveness is not excusing or minimizing. It is not letting the person off the hook. Like that accountability and that justice and the consequences can still exist with forgiveness, because I think sometimes people get those two things confused. You could not let it take a hold of you, but also expect accountability and justice. Those two things can exist together, but it is about more of your freedom, like my freedom from this hanging on to this anger, resentment towards a person, which I think we collectively have been moving towards that aspect of it, taking it and turning it into purpose. And it's also, forgiveness is not reconciliation. You can forgive a person without ever having to restore a relationship with them. And that goes for anything in life, right? This isn't just about losing a child. Like, we are all going to be faced with experiences and trials and tribulations in our life that are going to require us to have forgiveness. But my whole point is, forgiveness is not necessarily, I have to go mouth these words to someone directly. And I will stand on that, because I feel like how I spiraled the last week is because of this like pressure of thinking I have to like be able to say that. And I don't think that is. So I'm also letting our listeners off the hook a little bit too. But you can forgive someone without ever having a relationship with them again. You can let go of that hurt and be able to move on without ever seeing them again. Don't even have to say it.
Yeah, it could be ex-coworkers. It could be people you thought you were friends with, that those friendships fall apart, family members, right? And you can forgive them, but never reconcile those relationships and be close again. That's a regular occurrence, and that is okay for sure.
It's like forgiveness is your heart posture. It's like how your heart feels. On the flip side, you can say, I forgive someone, and inside your heart's posture is like not forgiving. So it's also about like releasing that grip of bitterness. And it goes back to what I said earlier. Grief often feels like a rage and resentment and this like haunting of why. But forgiveness is letting go of that, letting go of it, and having more of a softness in your heart. But here's what I want you guys all to remember, because I have to remind myself of this. It is not an instant thing. It's a process. And sometimes it's an up and down thing where you might be feeling like your heart has softened and you're being able to move on. And then something happens like a birthday that is so extremely difficult to navigate. And then all those feelings come back up. And it's like the next day or the day after, you have to sort of regroup and reposition your heart to be able to move forward and let go of that grip of anger. And it's for you personally. It's not for the other person at all. We know
100%.
that. We've talked about that a million times. It's just about like letting yourself free, and it's giving sort of that weight back to God. Like, here you go, like, take this. And I've had so many conversations lately, just even with our kiddos and just some friends. And it is about letting go of control of anything, control of like expectations, like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to go do this, or this is what the world is expecting of me, or they think I should be, this far along in my process and I'm not. And it's like letting go of all the comparison and all the things that you think you should be doing, and just giving it all to God, all to Him.
Yeah, it is a long process. And, I can think of things that have happened to me in my life that took 15 to 20 years to forgive, and they weren't to the degree of what you have gone through. And so what our family has gone through. And so it's definitely a process and does not have to be an overnight process. Now, if it is an overnight process for you, I suppose that's amazing. I don't know what that's like personally, but I know that we work towards that, and I pray about it and all of those things. So
Yeah. So I think just coming full circle with this topic, and where I've like in the last week and a half has spent a ton of time thinking about why I started to spiral. I mean, I knew my birthday was going to be hard. So that was in the middle of the week. So I already started down this like plummet of expectations. And then, my birthday comes and it was ugly. It was not good. I definitely struggled. I could not stop the tears all day. It's just so hard. And I don't know what it is. Like I can celebrate everybody else.
mm-hmm.
I can expect everybody else to have a great birthday and to find joy. And I love preparing for everybody's birthdays. But it feels freaking awful on my birthday to not have Hallie here. So you wrap that all up into forgiveness. And I think it just, to me, it doesn't mean that I'm okay with what happened, but it means I refuse to let what happened destroy what's left of me. And I will never let that happen. I will have bad days still, like my birthday, but I'm just so proud of how our collective family has fought so hard to not let this totally just ruin us and our life. And it is a daily fight, I think, for everybody, but we've just not refused to let ourselves get stuck. And I think that is the big part of forgiveness.
I'd say that's true. And I think that this is one of those things that everybody, maybe hopefully not to the degree that we have to go through it in this regard, but everyone's having to deal with forgiveness in some sense. And so hopefully some of these tips are helpful to you in your forgiveness journey, whatever that looks like. And thank you for being so honest and vulnerable, Ange, because I know how hard this is. I know that you do have some things that you'd like to pray for today before we close. So I'll let you start and then I will wrap us.
Yes. In Columbia, Missouri, where we live, this past weekend, there was a shooting. And again, another situation very similar to what happened to Hallie. Young girl in college, innocent, just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And she got shot. Again, same story as Hallie. And she passed away. She was an organ donor. And it just shreds me. And for their family, like you instantly know that what their fight is going to look like over the next, their lifetime, but how hard the first couple years will be for them. It's like a public thing too. So then you're trying to navigate all of that extra attention on top of trying to grasp what this new life with the extreme loss looks like. I did connect with the mom, and, at some point down the road, we'll meet when she, can even start to try to process this hell that she's enduring. But I just want to pray for her and her family. Also, my godmother, Judy, she's having some health issues, and she's definitely been someone that I've looked up to. And so definitely want to pray for some healing for her. Yeah. Hallie did show up in that scenario. I was praying to her to just wrap her arms around Judy, or her wings around her. She had surgery, and just show her that you're here. Show me that you're here, and she'll be okay. And anyway, that like an hour later, I get a text from Bailey, who was Hallie's nurse, that she crossed paths with my mom. She happened to see my mom in the lobby of the University of Missouri Hospital, which is also where Hallie died. And just in that split second, I'm like, oh my gosh, every decision they made that morning to allow them to intersect. My mom didn't see her. She saw my mom, and she wanted to know if everything was okay. So I shared with her what was going on. But it was just totally Hallie's sign of God wink that she's with us and looking out for everybody.
I'm just going to pray for all of our kids. All of our kids right now are kind of in some kind of dating scenario. And it's a scary time, right? Because people get hearts broke. We know what kind of things can happen, good and bad. And so just pray that they make good choices. Pray that they all are just using good examples and following each other's. I hope they're talking to each other. I think they talk to each other more than they would ever talk to us about these things, right? So that they're talking to each other and that they're giving each other good advice. And so I would pray for those things for our kids, and then just pray for a good weekend with you. Excited to spend some time with you again this weekend. And we are grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for letting us take last week off so that we could just do life. So for all of you, if you have more thoughts, questions about forgiveness, we're happy to have those discussions with you. But we thank you for listening. We hope that you have a wonderful week, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.